Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rhode Island House of Representatives Committee on Education. Today is Wednesday, March 17th, 2021. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Could the clerk please take the roll?
Yes, Chairman.
Here. Oh. Oh, but
Chairman McNamara.
here.
Representative Barrows. Representative Amore.
Here.
Representative Alzate. Here. Representative Bia. Representative Caldwell.
Here.
Representative Donovan.
Here.
Representative Fenton Fung. Representative Giraldo.
Here.
Representative Kislak. Representative Norrie.
Here.
Representative Phillips.
Present.
Representative Ranglin Vassal. Representative Roberts. Representative Shawcross Smith.
Present.
Present. She's here.
Okay, Chairman, we have a quorum.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The first order of business today is we are going to hold the bills for further study. For those that are at home, the reason we do this is to keep the legislation alive within the bar of the committee, and that means when we hear your testimony, very often, approximately 40% of the bills will be amended, and that enables us to do that. So with that, I am going to make a motion to hold the following bills for further study. House Bill 5235, House Bill 5349, House Bill 5443, House Bill 5492, House Bill 5701, House Bill 5713, and that is it. Is there a second? Second by Representative Giraldo. All those in favor, we're going to take
We
a
have
roll
to do
call
it.
vote. Yes.
Chairman McNamara.
Yes.
Representative Barrows. Representative Amore.
Yes.
Representative Alzate. Yes. Representative Bia. Representative Caldwell.
Yes.
Representative Donovan.
Yes.
Representative Fenton Fung. Representative Giraldo.
Yes.
Representative Kislak. Representative Norrie.
Yes.
Representative Phillips.
Yes.
Representative Ranglin Vassal. Representative Roberts. Representative Shawcross Smith.
Yes.
Okay.
8, 9. We have 9, Chairman.
Thank you. Those bills will be held for further study. The first bill we're going to hear is 5235 by Representative Diaz. This act would provide that school districts may employ LPNs to assist certified nurse teachers. The act would require that no fewer than one nurse be employed for every 750 students. We have one witness on this bill, Ms. Deborah Sevilto. Welcome, Deborah. Please proceed. Rhode Island School Nurse Teachers Association.
Thank you very much, Chairman and committee members, for this opportunity to speak in opposition to Representative Diaz's Bill 5235. I am the president of Rhode Island Certified School Nurse Teachers Association. I have been working as a certified school nurse teacher for 30-plus years in the Cranston School Department. I am concerned about this bill that would allow LPNs to be employed in school departments. The scope and practice of the LPN is limited by the Rhode Island Nurse Practice Act. They would require direct, continuous supervision by the certified school nurse teacher. But the biggest concern is that one of the limitations of the LPN is that they cannot perform assessments. So all students coming into the health office would first need to be assessed by the certified school nurse teacher, who would determine what treatments or what actions would be required, and then determine whether or not that task could be delegated to the LPN. This is simply not a cost-effective means to help staffing needs in a school, and furthermore carries the risk of liability for the school department and the students receiving health services. We strongly believe that school children deserve the high-quality professional health services that can be provided by the certified school nurse teachers because we possess the knowledge and the expertise. We've had the preparation to be able to carry out those services. There is no language in the rules and regulations about services that LPNs could provide. There's no language whatsoever. But however, the language is all about the certified school nurse teacher. If there are staffing concerns in a school, and that's what I'm thinking is driving this bill, certified school nurse teachers should be hired to fill those positions so that we can continue to provide the high quality health services for students. As far as the ratio, that one nurse to 750 students, we have major concerns about that. More and more students with complex medical needs are now returning to our schools. So in a case like that, we need to pay much closer attention to the acuity of the medical and health needs of the students and the student population. And that's going to differ from one school to another. Across the state, we have classrooms that have nurses in a classroom because we have students with significant medical complex needs. This bill fails to take into account other factors that should be considered when we're considering staffing needs for any school or position. Other health needs across the population, developing care plans, being involved in IEP and 504 meetings, conferencing with teachers and administrators, preparing for off-campus activities like field trips, and especially for our complex students, that really becomes quite the task that it significantly impacts our caseload. So for these and other reasons, I really do respectfully request that the committee oppose Bill 5235.
Thank you.
I thank you very much for this
Are
opportunity.
there any questions for this witness?
I have a question, Chairman.
Yes. Representative Showcroft-Smith.
Thank you. I was wondering, do you know how many LPNs graduate in Rhode Island with the license to be an LPN?
I honestly have no idea how many LPNs are graduating annually in Rhode Island. I do not know.
You know how many at the licensed at Department of Health at this time? I'm wondering if there's a shortage. That's what I'm thinking of.
I know, so again, I really don't have any statistics at all on the number of LPNs being licensed annually or graduating from programs in Rhode Island. But school departments such as mine have increased their nursing departments as a result of COVID. And I'm very happy to say in the Cranston School Department we had a significant increase. I had no trouble filling those positions with certified school nurse teachers who were, they met the requirement according to the current regulations for Rhode Island. And if there is a staffing deficit, we need to put in people who are prepared to provide the services. That is your certified school nurse teacher. It's not an LPN who's going to be able to fulfill the requirements of the current regulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions for this witness? Thank you very much, Deborah. We appreciate it. Representative Phillips, do we have any other witnesses that have signed in?
We have
Written?
written testimony from 3 organizations. One is the verbal witness here, Deborah Svittle from RICS-NTA. Another one is American Academy of Pediatrics, Mr. Gregory Fox, and the Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals, Mr. James Parisi. They're all in opposition to the bill.
Thank you. That concludes the hearing on 5235. The next bill we're going to hear is 5349 by Representative Messier. This resolution would create a 9-member special legislative commission whose purpose would be to study and make recommendations for the development and implementation of anti-littering education program for elementary students in Rhode Island's public schools, and who would report back to the House of Representatives before February 3rd, 2022. Are there any questions? Anti-littering campaign for education. It's a study commission. There are no witnesses. Is there any written testimony?
There is none, Chairman.
There is none. That concludes the hearing on 5-3.
Chair.
Oh,
Sponsors
I'm
here.
sorry. I didn't know. Representative Messier. Oh, welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair. Happy St.
And
Patrick's Day,
Representative-
everyone.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Representative Messier of Pawtucket, I just want everyone to be aware of the fact, is a former elementary school teacher for a few years. She started when she was very young. That's why she's could retire when she's still very young. Representative Messier,
So kind.
welcome and please.
So kind. Well, I put this bill in because I don't know if anybody else has noticed the increase in litter, especially along the highway. People just don't seem to care anymore. I know many years ago, we had a litter campaign in the schools, and it seemed to help, but this generation now just doesn't understand the effects of littering. And we have one of the strictest litter laws in the country with fines, but they don't seem to be enforced. So I think the best thing to do is to start with a grade, maybe 3rd, 4th grade in the elementary school, and have a program that they are taught the reasons why we don't litter. And I mean, this could grow into, it doesn't have to be a long course, it can be a 20-minute Friday afternoon thing. They can make posters, have a poster contest, but all of that, I think, would be left up to the commission. And maybe we can have some of the elementary ed candidates at Rhode Island College help with this lesson plan. And the reason I feel like this is because children, years ago, they were taught to wear a seatbelt. And that becomes part of their routine when they get in a car. And the other thing is, we taught them, it was back when we had the SARS problem, to cough and sneeze into their elbow. And I noticed lots of children, when they cough, sneeze, they do that. So I think if you get them young enough to understand that you just don't throw anything out onto the highway, onto the road, onto the street, that it will take some years, but eventually it will become a part of their lifestyle where they don't litter. So that's why I put the bill in.
Excellent. And Representative Messier, I'm old enough to remember when we used to have bottles that were recyclable, where people had deposits, and we would go for the scouts would go on bottle drives, door to door, go to locations where people would discard them and trade them in, as well as newspaper drives. But when I was a Cub Scout committee chairman, we used to do fundraisers for supermarkets and large parking lots where we would have the kids go and pick up paper, litter. We'd give them some plastic gloves, and they'd donate money to the Cub Scout troop. But I'll never forget, we had one little boy who was, Cub Scout, so he's like 6, 7 years old, on the autism scale, a little OCD. He was the best individual. He would just go after every little single bit of paper and pick it up. And afterwards, I told his mother, I said, geez, I'm so proud of Jonathan today. He did a fantastic job, and her face lit up. But kids get it. And I think it's important for, to make sure that they're aware of it. And there are a lot of activities you can get them involved
A
in.
lot of activities,
Yeah.
yes. And, they almost become, the children almost become people to shame other people not to. If they see somebody throw something out the car, they're going to remind them, you're not supposed to do that. So it's just a way to help with the future of this litter. And, they talk about a green environment, but this litter is just, so when you drive home tonight, check out the litter. Because that's all I see when I'm on the highway.
Are there any questions for
I think over
Representative
here.
I have
Messier? Yes. Representative Donovan, and then Representative Giraldo.
Thank you, Chairman. I love this bill, Representative Messier. I also taught for years, and I taught health education, and we had a section on littering. But recently, in the past 10 years, I also teach every fourth grader in Bristol and Warren about watersheds. And not only is litter, bad for, aesthetically, the plastics that we throw out the window, whether they be plastic bottles and caps, to the plastic cigarette filters, they get ground into a powder. And they get washed down into our watershed, rivers and streams, and right down into the bay. Those microscopic pieces of plastic are in our food chain. And we're on the top of the food chain, but, it goes up the food chain. Even in microscopic sea creatures, there are plastics. And we eat up the food chain. And we don't really know what harm this is causing us. The jury's out on that. So it's really important that kids understand aesthetically that litter is bad and that it's bad for the environment, but it's also bad for our health. So I really applaud you for putting this in, and I would love to put my 2 cents in when the time comes.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Giraldo, God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a great approach also. What I would say is that I also, in my past life, was a teacher, and I've served some time as a recreation director. And one of the things that became abundantly clear to me around issues of littering is it usually happens when people feel a disconnection to the space, like it's not theirs, like they don't feel ownership or responsibility for it. And so one of the big emphasis that we put on in my time as a teacher and as a rec director was making sure we provide opportunities for kids to have an impact on that space, whether it's a painting project or a cleanup project or anything that would that would tie them to that space and show them that it's theirs to take care of. It had an overwhelming impact. And so I think this is a great idea, and I would really encourage and push the Legislative Commission to take a look at ownership opportunities and how to make sure that kids feel connected to the spaces that they're living in. Thank you.
Yes, I understand that point. At one time in the town that I taught, we were told to take the fifth graders out into the field around the school and have them pick up the litter. And one of my students said, I didn't put it there. Why should I pick it up? And I thought, that's a pretty good idea. People are throwing things down and they wait for other people to clean it up. So whatever we can do, I think is a good idea.
Thank you. Representative Bia has joined us, and he would like to be recorded in the affirmative for
Thank you, Mr.
both
Chairman.
attendance. Thank you, Representative.
Okay, Chairman.
Great to see you today. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Representative Norrie.
Thank you, Chairman. I also want to echo the same sentiments. I really like the bill. I do know that certain schools offer a recycling program as well. They come in, the towns come in and show what needs to be recycled. So I think it would be a
That's a good
great
idea.
opportunity to coordinate the two, to just work them in. So again, as you said, it could be a short program. If they combined it, it would probably take a whole hour. And as Rep. Giraldo had said, taking ownership every year, my children, we clean our neighborhood. So we live on a main road. I take them out. We take garbage bags. We police the neighborhood, and we get between 2 and 4 garbage bags full of trash every springtime from our street. So, and again, we now walk the dog, and we see all the trash that's out there, and it disgusts them. So again, they take ownership of their neighborhood, and I totally agree with you that it actually works. So thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions for Representative Messier? Thank you, Representative
Okay,
Messier.
thank you.
We appreciate it. That concludes the hearing on 5349. The next bill that we're going to hear is by House Bill 5492 by our very own Representative Shellcross-Smith. Welcome, Representative Shellcross-Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all. I was asked to submit this host resolution titled Creating a Special Legislation Commission to Examine the State's Growing Home School Population by constituents when I was walking door to door last summer. And some of the concerns I have was the internet, resources, and teaching their children math and sciences. And I'm wondering why all of a sudden I had a conversation, because I've been in education for a long time, so I did a little bit of research, and it's actually homeschool has become popular. Last year, before COVID, they had about 1,900 homeschools in the state of Rhode Island. I want to thank this information to Enrich. They gave me the information to write. And since COVID, 20 to 21, 3,400 people are now homeschooling their children. That's an additional 1,400 new homeschools in Rhode Island. So I can understand why people would have a lot of questions. This bill will bring people together, from principals to the people on this Right. I met 2 wonderful women through Right, RIGHT, Jen Curry, and Enrich, Melissa Robb, who are great resources who gave me a lot of information. So bringing this committee together, hopefully it'll be a very short commission, and then we'll report out in 2022 on exactly what the homeschool parents need. Maybe they just need resources. Is that when almost, if it's increased by 75%, that's a lot of homeschooling. So I can understand why I had a lot of questions on this topic. Thank you, Chairman.
Are there any questions for, yes, Representative Vice Chair Barrows?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Shellcross-Smith. So did they say anything in particular in terms of what is actually missing? What needs do they seem to have, or at least preliminarily speaking?
It sounds to me like some can get textbooks. I just don't know they knew the resources. The other question that came up was internet access. Another question that came up over and over again is, I talked to other people, is getting the right math teacher, the right science teacher to teach their children. But Right, RIGHT, and Rich have some solutions. Rich have some solutions for that. So it might be just getting a better marketing out there for the people to know that all these resources are here for them.
And the other question I had is in reference to, so if they're being homeschooled, how is the money following the child at home, or what are we doing? What's that process look like?
It's my understanding that I think they only have access to textbooks, etc. I truly don't know that answer, but I will get the answer. My understanding, the money does not follow the child. That if they need textbooks from the school will deliver and get them the textbooks they need, type of thing. But they're not paid to keep their children home. That's my understanding, but I will get that in writing.
And I think Representative Amore is on here. I think he may, I don't know if he's still on, but if he may have something to share on that.
Thank you.
Representative Barrows, we do have as a witness, the next witness is going to be an individual from the Rhode Island Guild of Home Teachers. So it's an individual who would have that. I know in the past that cities, local education authorities, cities and towns have to approve of the curriculum that the homeschooler is using. So there is some oversight from the local school committees. But we do have an individual who will be testifying from the Rhode Island Guild of Home Teachers, who may have that specific answers in terms of, what. Representative Alzate.
I think this is I guess it's a statement, but it might be a question. Does it make sense to put a student on this commission? Maybe it is a question.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good pickup. Thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah, just because like when we talk, obviously education in the state is an extremely hot topic nowadays. And so when we talk about curriculums and things for students, a lot of the questions that we get is, we should have student voice, right? Center student voices. So I'm just wondering if, with homeschooling, it's something I'm also learning about. Just to have, we have parents on here, which is great. We have school committee members, which is great. But I'm just wondering, like, maybe it would be a good idea to have a student on this commission.
Yeah, excellent.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. It's great input.
Are there any further, Representative Barrows?
Yeah, I guess where I was going with this is that, so, Rep, do you know in terms of who are the typical sort of parents who would homeschool? What would their income be? What bracket would they fall in? Because as I don't see an awful lot of, low and moderate income folks actually doing this. And my concern is that if we want to turn around some of these districts by continually taking money away from them, certainly doesn't help. So so I don't know if you have that answer.
That's not the intent of the commission, but certain things will come from people on the commission to bring things forward. I think the rise is because they have a year and a half ago, they had 1,900 homes. Now they have 1,400 more homes, which is 3,400. So I think people out there, and maybe in time when the kids go back to school full time, that might change. So I truly don't know the income bracket, but once again, if the Department of Education, or Department of Education does take that information, I will get it to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions for the sponsor? Thank you very, very much, Representative Schofield Smith. Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Representative Bia, yes.
Yeah, man, I really don't know if this is in the form of a question or probably a statement. So some of the data that we gather here in Providence, I'm assuming that in other districts also currently. So based on just like this short sample that we have as of since March 13th of this year, when most schools or all schools, all districts went to distance learning, one of the key indicators that we probably noticed is that and students returning like students' absence, the attendance of that, the absence and completing the work and everything else. So there's another thing that I'm trying to just like throwing this out there that, and follow up with the question of Rep. Barrett, like the vice chair just asked, because most of these kids and most parents are, complaining about they don't have time, they're not home, they can't help their kids, and kids are not completing tasks. Those are just things that I'm just throwing out there. And the question our Representative Azate asked about adding the students on this commission, I don't think it's bad, but I think that if we're going to add a student on the commission, what would be that student point of view? From which point we're going to add a student? Or so is that we add two, ones are pro and against to be able to, because if we just get a student and put on the commission. So I'm just thinking, I just throwing out there just to think about what Representative.
So it might be a good idea to someone that has been homeschooled for a period of time, and for another individual, the captain of the football team at Shea or something. Yeah. Right, Representative Barrows is smiling, this is district, right? Or Alvarez High School.
Yeah. Because creating this commission, we really want to put people on that commission just based on have like a very open mind. It's not people that already have like decided exactly that, hey, I want homeschooling. So basically, you get on this commission, then we get like a bias report from this commission, and that's one of the things I'm afraid.
Very good, great suggestion. Representative Amore, do you have something to add? All set? Okay. Any further questions? The next We have one witness, Jennifer Curry, who is the Rhode Island Guild of Homeschool Teachers, in opposition. Welcome.
Good morning. Hello.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Curry, and I oppose House Bill 5492. I am a homeschool parent of 7 from West Greenwich. I have been homeschooling for 18 years, with 15 years still ahead of me. I am also the state coordinator for Rhode, Rhode Island Guild of Home Teachers. Rhode is a 501c3 homeschool support group that has been supporting homeschool families since 1987. If my title sounds familiar to you, it's because my position of state coordinator is named in this proposed bill. I reached out to the bill sponsor, Mary Ann Shawcross-Smith, this past Sunday when I learned of the bill. I introduced myself as the state coordinator of Rhode, and she expressed her delight to be speaking with me. It is clear that Mary Ann has a heart to serve, and that serving homeschool families was brought to her attention through 2 of her constituents while she was going door to door during her campaign. It is unfortunate that these 2 constituents were misinformed about the actual homeschool support that is available. I can understand why Mary Ann was concerned. One constituent said that her grandchild was unable to receive a diploma because she was a homeschool student. That couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, Wright holds a lovely graduation ceremony each year where several school administration staff and even Superintendent Lori Anthony have been in attendance. The other constituent wanted free internet for her homeschool students because the public school students were receiving it due to COVID. It is unclear if the family was actually in need or not. As far as access and support, Wright and Enrich RI are the 2 501c3 homeschool support organizations in Rhode Island. They both serve about 300 families each. While there is some overlapping membership, together they serve the majority of Rhode Island homeschool families. The support they provide includes class offerings, field trips, training, workshops, teacher conferences, curriculum sales, field trips, events such as father-daughter dances, homeschool ball, and graduations. Additionally, they both offer support in reporting to the local school district. There is also legislative support locally, statewide, and even nationwide as needed. Mary Ann and I have plans to meet up in person soon to discuss any concerns the homeschool community might have that she could advocate for us on. I appreciate her servant's heart and willingness to advocate for others. Although I oppose this bill, I welcome her support in the future if needed. I would also like to add that I failed to in my written testimony that many homeschoolers take part in classes in their local schools. My son took career tech classes at Tollgate as a homeschool student here in West Greenwich. My boys have also learned cross country here for Exeter, West Greenwich. So the opportunities and the support and the availability to homeschoolers is in abundance.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Ms. Curry, the question was asked. I know that local school committees approve of the homeschooling curriculums when a student applies to be homeschooled. The question was, is there any other form of reimbursement other than just paying for books and...
No, I heard the question from Representative Barros about the money following the students and textbooks and things, and in general, 1623-22, I believe, or better information, it talks about textbook loaning, and it's
And that's it?
I'm sorry. It's I'm sorry, right here. It's 1623-2, and that is a general law that refers to the loan of textbooks. There is nothing else besides the loan of textbooks. Money is not filed with child. We don't get paid to homeschool. I know another question came up about the parents and their income levels. That's not reported to RIDE. And I will tell you that the majority of our folks are single-income households. So it's they're not looking for funding, and they're making it work.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yes. Representative Barros. You're on mute. Mute, the bottom.
Sorry.
Welcome.
Sorry, Jen. Jennifer, are you still on?
I am.
Yes.
So you were saying earlier that there is 2 groups, each having 300 potential students. Now, when the Representative Shellcross was saying there's about 900, so those other
That's
300.
Excuse me, that's 300 families. A typical homeschool family is, oh gosh,
Okay.
I've got 7 children. I mean, it's not how many children, it's how many families.
Okay, sorry about that. I misunderstood. Thank you
That's
very
okay.
thank you for testifying.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, Representative Giraldo has
Just
a
a,
question.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. Is there, although there may not be any other financial incentives, is there a tax credit or tax deduction of any kind that apply to someone who's homeschooling?
Not
their
at
children?
all.
Thank you.
Wow,
You're welcome.
it's a good idea. Could be a good bill.
Well, I would most homeschools would be in opposition to that. We don't want any government funding. We don't want any
Oh, okay.
strings attached to that.
That's very rare in today's world. Very good,
Yeah.
Ms. Curry. Are there any further questions for Ms. Curry? Thank you very much. You were very informative. Good witness.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Is there any written testimony?
There are, Chairman, there are 19 written pieces of testimony, and they are all opposing the bill. I'm just going to read the names. They're all parents of homeschooled children, and they have all different communities within our state. First one is Alice Miller. Next one is Alyssa Crowder, Anna Souza, Beth Nichols, Caroline Zanni, David Stopp, Donna Wedge, Jennifer Curry, Jessica Harris, Lisa Ferreira, Nathaniel Nichols, Nicole Brennan, Polycapa Completo, Jamie Carroll, Sharon Bettis, Solitaire Frisbee, Tammy Collins, Tracy Mancillo Perry, and Alexandra Nichols. And those are all the pieces of written information or written testimony we have, Chairman.
Thank you very much. That concludes the hearing on 5492. The next bill we're going to hear, we have two bills that are identical, and the same people signed up for both of them. So we're going to hear those bills at this time, and it's 5701 is by Representative Casimiro, and 5713 is by Representative Giraldo. And Representative Giraldo, would you want to just explain the bill, introduce them?
Sure. Though I would like to draw attention to Rep. Casimiro's bill, as we discussed it yesterday, and she's going to go ahead and push this bill forward.
Yes.
This bill would require that 1/3 of all Rhode Islanders for the next 3 years, Rhode Island teachers for the next 3 years, get trained in the Basic Emergency and Response Skills Curriculum, other known as BEARS, specifically in hand-only cardiopulmonary resuscitation, the Heimlich maneuver, and bleeding control. We were contacted by a wonderful group of Brown University students that were advocating for this bill, and both Representative Casimiro, myself, and others all jumped at the opportunity, and so we're all supportive of it, but I'll defer to Casimiro, Representative Casimiro, to take the lead on the bill.
For her
Thank
bill.
you.
Is Representative Casimiro with us, joining us?
I think she's in judiciary.
Oh. Did she want to be contacted on this? Okay. Are there any questions for Representative Giraldo? Representative Giraldo, this is interesting. When in Pawtucket, approximately 15 years ago, we had a proposal to get defibrillators in all of the schools. So I was at the school committee meeting. They ended up, I had a proposal. We had a little bit of funding. The motion for the school committee was to put defibrillators in every school, 2 in the high school, so one would stay in the gym, one would go out to the athletic field. This was 15 years ago. And an individual on the school committee said, I will support this under one condition, and that is we need X amount of people in each school that are trained to use the defibrillator, and it's like a 2-hour course, probably similar to this. And the union was there, and it was the president of the AFT, Marianne Keveney, said, we will support that. And, you know, we did that for a while, and it worked, but you always have in the schools, the health and phys ed teacher would be certified. In the high schools, we have numerous coaches and maybe 3 or 4 health and PE people, but we had a pretty large cohort. But where it came down to the expense, the big expense, no one told us that defibrillators have to be reprogrammed like every 5 years. The battery and the pads, you need both adult and what they call PD pads to change. So every year you have to buy new pads for all of the machines, 2 sets, every 5 years. And it ended up being, that is where the expense was. But I understand the intent of the bill, and you know, in my 37 years in public education, I know that it's more likely to be a teacher than a student with an aging population, especially today. But that was the situation that we ran into. So with that, are there any questions for Representative Giraldo? We have 3 witnesses. Alexander Phillips from Brown University. Welcome, Mr. Phillips. Please proceed.
Excellent. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Alex Phillips, a student at Brown University and a resident of Smithfield, Rhode. I'm testifying in favor of House Bill 5701 and 5713, which advocates for public school teacher training in basic emergency and response skills. I speak on behalf of the Brown Initiative for Policy, a student-run think tank at Brown. I'm also an alumni of the Rhode Island public school system, so I also speak as an alumni. Research shows that teachers often act as first responders to classroom emergencies. Yet Rhode Island teachers are largely unprepared to deal with such emergencies. Imagine being a teacher and witnessing a student or colleague in need, but being unable to help. The BEARS bill would provide the necessary resources for Rhode Island teachers to be taught high-yield first aid skills over 3 years, with basic CPR, the Heimlich maneuver, and bleeding control. Given the circumstances of the past year, the first year of training also addresses infectious diseases. Rhode Island teachers attest to the fact that emergencies happen in classrooms. We recently surveyed over 250 Rhode Island teachers from across the state. 40% of teachers reported having responded to a classroom emergency in the 2019 to 2020 academic year. 73% of surveyed teachers wanted first aid training as a part of professional development. Clearly, this training is a necessity, and Rhode Island teachers agree with us. Over the past few months, we've demonstrated the efficacy of the BEARS program by training over 100 teachers at multiple Rhode Island schools. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive, and the teachers and the training, even in the virtual environment, has been effective. Moreover, precedent for a program like this exists. CPR training for teachers is already mandatory in 18 other states. In Rhode Island, training in CPR is a high school graduation requirement. I would have felt much safer as a student in the Rhode Island school system had I known my teachers were trained in basic emergency and response skills. We owe our teachers access to the training that will prepare them to respond to classroom emergencies. Now I'd like to also introduce Amelia and Vignesh, who are fellow students. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Are there any questions for Mr. Phillips? Next witness, Amelia Shapiro. Welcome, Ms. Shapiro. Please proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and committee members, for the opportunity to testify in favor of this bill. My name is Amelia Shapiro. I'm a sophomore at Brown University, and I'm a co-lead on the Bears team. This is my teammate, Vic Nash.
Hi, I'm Vic Nash. I'm a senior at Brown University studying public policy.
First, we would like to clarify that our teammate Abby Sinnott's testimony is for 5701 rather than 5492. In response to the testimony submitted by the AFC in which they asked how much of a burden these trainings would be, the training only takes 45 minutes, or an hour, allowing an extra 15 minutes for teachers to ask questions. We would love for all teachers to be trained, but we've adjusted the requirement to only 80% to account for disabilities and other issues some teachers may have. Furthermore, because this is phased in over a 3-year period, only 27% of teachers are trained in any given year. Finally, I want to emphasize that teachers really do want this. I will refer you to written testimony by Noah Escalar and Emily Bonanno, and their survey results that demonstrate that the vast majority of teachers want this, that the training is cheap and easy, and that it can truly save lives. We would love the chance to answer any questions the committee might have.
Thank you. Representative Barrows. Representative Barrows? Question?
Thank you. I was on mute. I keep being muted. I think the intent of the bill is great. I have a question, though, and that is, in the process of those 240 teachers that they sort of surveyed, what type of emergency did they come up with?
Hi, I'm happy to take that question. So teachers responded to a variety of issues that, as you might expect, included not just the 3 bear skills, but also EpiPens and seizures. But the reason we chose these 3 particular skills is because they are the highest yield. In Rhode Island, we're a small state and the ambulance can get there quickly, but even in our state, it takes 7 minutes and 30 seconds for the ambulance to arrive. So in the course of bleeding control, someone can bleed out and die within 5 minutes. In respect to CPR and choking, the brain is affected within 90 seconds of lack of oxygen. So those are the types of things that our survey uncovered. And the other thing that we noticed is that the chairman mentioned the existence of nurse and PE teachers with this training. However, 90 seconds is not enough time for the nurse or PE teacher to get from the other side of the school building to the classroom and help the students. The most important thing is being able to identify the medical condition that the student is having and marshal the appropriate resources, and that's what this training is able to do in a cheap, effective way.
Thank you, Chairman.
Are there any further questions for these witnesses? Thank you, Mr. Phillips. The next witness is Brent Kerman. Welcome, Brent. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chairman McNamara, as well as our entire State's House Committee on Education. My name is Brent Kerman, principal of William DeBate Elementary School. Safety is the #1 priority of every principal in every city, in every town across our country. This training, the Bears training, has heightened my sense of safety and security for my entire building.
Mr. Kerman, could you turn down the sound on your laptop or computer? Because we're getting some feedback, and that may address it.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Thank you. The student safety and staff safety, #1 priority, every principal. The Bears training has given me a heightened sense of safety and security like nothing I've ever seen. Our emergency preparedness post-Columbine has been terrific. But what to do when faced with a student who is bleeding profusely or choking, or a staff member who may be having a heart attack or a stroke, we're not trained for that. We do have a small school crisis team, but now with the Bears training, our entire faculty and staff has been trained. I receive probably upwards of 100 hours of professional development every year. This training certainly ranks up at the top. Fantastic, and I strongly support it for every school across our state. Thank you.
Mr. Kerman, is your training done, do they do it live or is it online for the teachers?
This year, our training was done via Zoom due to COVID. I'm sure they would like to perform the training in person in years going forward, but we did do it via Zoom this year.
And the feedback was very positive?
I've already had 2 teachers report back. One had a 2-year-old child who was choking, her own at home, and another whose son hit his head playing basketball in the street and was bleeding profusely. They could not thank me enough. These skills also go out into our communities, into our homes, and into our communities, so it's far-reaching.
Very good. Are there any questions for Mr. Kerman?
No, I have a question for Mr. Kerman, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Beer, a fellow principal from Providence, the great city of Providence.
How you doing? Brian, are you still there?
Yes, I am. I have a little delay from the computer to my phone.
How are you today?
I'm doing outstanding. So proud of you in your current capacity on the House Education Committee. Extremely proud.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. And I think that was a good testimony of that because for the amount of the teachers that we do go through that. It's not just only in our school, within the school, also serve within the community also. I think this is a good bill, Representative Gerardo. And Brian, thank you for actually bringing evidence to the floor of this in supporting this bill based on your total amount of teachers you have in the building and that have gone through this training and giving some evidence that has shown that a teacher have actually saved a student within the school. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Representative Bia. Never more proud, and my job is to secure everything I can for my school, every resource. And when it comes to life-saving skills, come on, it's a no-brainer.
Thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Kerman? Thank you very much, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
And the same witnesses were on both bills. And do we have any written testimony?
We do, Chairman. We have 7 pieces of written testimony on H5701, and 2 of the same people on 5701 also testified on 5713. They are William D. Abadi, elementary school principal, Providence Schools, he's in favor. ACLU of Rhode Island is against it. Noah Escalar, special education educator from Smithfield Middle School, is in favor. The American College of Emergency Physicians are in favor of it. Bears survey data is in favor of it. Rhode Island Medical Society, Catherine Cummings, is in favor of it. And the Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals, Mr. James Parisi, is against it. And that's all of the testimony we have. The ACLU and the Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals also weighed in on 5713 in opposition to it.
Okay, so that concludes the hearing on 5701 and 5713 and today's calendar. At this time, I would like to thank Vice Chair Barrows from Pawtucket coming in remotely today, and he represents just the city of Pawtucket, including Shea High School and also Jacqueline Walsh High School. Is that in your district, Representative Barrows? Very good. So he's got some great institutions of secondary ed. The kids will be back. We also have second vice chair with us today, Greg Amore, and Chairman Amore, congratulations again on receiving the Paul Crowley Award, and certainly an excellent recipient, and so reflective, as I said, of Paul Crowley, who also was the chair of the Finance Subcommittee, who was also an athlete, as I mentioned, and enjoyed golf as much as I do, but we play on the same level, unfortunately. But Representative Amore is really the ringer that all golfers like to have in their foursome. So congratulations again, Representative Amore.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. Appreciate it.
And we have also joining us from Pawtucket, Representative Alzate. Always a pleasure. Thank you, Representative. And from Providence, we have our principal, Representative Byer. Thank you very much for your feedback today. Representative Caldwell joined us from East Greenwich. Thank you, Representative. And we have with us in person today Representative Donovan of Bristol. And Representative Donovan, did you come down with the yacht into Providence today? She did. A little bit too cold and maybe a little choppy out there, but I'm sure that you're getting the bottom done and that'll be ready to go. Representative Giraldo is with us today from Central Falls, which I'm sure is having a great St. Patrick's Day celebration. Representative Norrie, who represents Coventry and part of West Warwick. Part of Coventry, more of West Warwick. And I love that out with the kids picking up. That very, very commendable. Very commendable.
I tried finding a picture on my phone to show you. We have a golf cart. We take the golf cart down the road with the garbage cans on the back, and it's we make an activity of it. So it's good.
Now, Representative Norrie, the thing that gets me, and I've talked to liquor store owners about it, is those little nip bottles, and people throw them in the same places all the time.
So the other day, my wife and I took the dog for a walk. We counted 45 nip bottles in a half mile out and a half mile back. So in that 45 nip bottles, just in that one stretch. In fact, I considered putting a bill in this year, but Representative Bennett beat me to it for a bill. There is one for a deposit on the nips.
Yeah,
for that purpose.
Oh.
So.
You know, and it goes across all communities. I have a very, very upscale neighborhood, and the nip bottles are the two entrances to the community, main roads. One, there's an elementary school, wooded area, loaded with nip bottles. So are things that bad? And what I see is people stop at the liquor store. Hey, sweetheart, how was your day today? Oh, it was great. Stop at the liquor store, a couple of nip bottles, throw them out in the right?
In my previous career, I worked for the Division of Taxation across the street, and I would do inspections at liquor stores, and I would watch people come in and buy 4 or 5 nips, and I'd see them go out and just pour them right in their coffee cup or their little cup in the center console and head to work. It was, starting at 8:30 in the morning. So it's a habit.
Oh boy, we've got some problems. Well, thank you for that work, Representative Norrie. That's really great. Representative Phillips of Woonsocket and part of Cumberland, thank you very much. Representative Roberts was with us from Coventry and West Greenwich. And Representative Shawcroft Smith, who represents Lincoln and a little bit of Pawtucket. And Representative Shawcroft Smith, is the St. Patrick's Day in Pawtucket canceled? It's usually later, I think.
That's my understanding, is it? Yeah.
Is it? Hopefully next year it'll be back on. I know that's always a great time.
2022 is going to be a great year, I can tell.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. A motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.